Okay, welcome to today's battle report. This is the next mission in the Faaris IV campaign. We are playing a mission called Above and Below, which utilises 2 tables. The big table up here is represented by a kind of like plains type area where vehicles can move slightly faster than normal, and there are 4 special towers towards the corner of each part of the board. There is one large building in the centre of the board, which is an objective that can be scored by any player and can use any unit to score it. The towers in the corner of the board are transport tubes. Any non-vehicle unit that gets close to them can transport to these little discs on the bottom board. The bottom board is a cavern, so it utilises night fighting unless you're shooting at targets which are near one of the discs or near the central objective. There are 2 other objectives on each end of the board. The winner is the person who scores the most objectives, with the centre objective on the large table counting for 2. Okay, this is the 1850 points of Grey Knights I brought to the table today. We have Grandmaster Mordrak, who has got 5 Ghost Knights with him. We have a Librarian, who has the Shrouding, Warp Rift, the Summoning, and one other power, Might of Titan. Because of the campaign we're playing, I have access to a 3rd HQ slot, so I've taken an Inquisitor, who has a Plasma Siphon, a Combi Melter, and a Servo Skull. There is a unit of 10 normal Grey Knight Terminators. They've got 4 halberds, 4 swords, 2 hammers, 2 Psy Cannons, and Psy Bolts. Then we have the first of 2 Dreadknights. Both are armed exactly the same. They have heavy incinerators and they have personal teleporters. We then have a Calidus Assassin, a nice obligatory squad of 3 Acolytes, an excellent little unit, and then we have 5 normal Strike Knights armed with a Psy Cannon.
Here's the tower that is arrayed against them. Quite a few more models, but will it do us any good? We're led by a Shaycell commander with a plasma, twin-link missile pod, a hardwire multi-tracker, hardwire drone controller, hardwire black sun filters, gun drone and a shield drone. He's with a unit of 2 crisis suits. The leader has got plasma, twin-link missiles, a hardwire multi-tracker, hardwire drone controller, hardwire black sun filters, a gun drone and a shield drone, and the other guy's just got a plasma, a missile and a multi-tracker. There are 2 other units of crisis suits which are armed identically. The leader has plasma, twin-link missiles, hardwire multi-tracker, hardwire drone controller, hardwire black sun filters and 2 shield drones, and the other 2 people in the squad have plasmas, missiles and a multi-tracker. There is the mandatory unit of 6 fire warriors. The leader has been upgraded to a Chassui and he has a hardwired black sun filter and a marker light. There are 3 units of Kroot, one which seems to be influenced by Slaanesh, which may be by the Inquisitioner here, if they have suspicious looking Kroot hounds to say the least. And there are 10 Kroot and 5 hounds in each squad. We have 3 individual units of 1 Piranha. Each has a fusion blaster and a targeting array. We have a broadside team of 2 broadsides. Both have advanced stabilisation. The leader also has a hardwired target lock, hardwired drone controller and 2 shield drones. And then there are 2 hammerheads, both with railguns, burst cannons and disruption pods. Okay, so everybody's deployed. As you can see, the tower have deployed along this side of the table. The Kroots and so on gathered around the elevators, whilst the other larger units spread out across the field. End of Tau turn 1. The Tau Piranhas raced ahead of the rest of the force to scout out where these Inquisitors could be that they'd heard so much about. The suits and the hammerheads are bringing up the main portion of the main table. Meanwhile, down in the cavern, the Crute and Fire Warriors rammed themselves down the lifts in as great numbers as they can, just about all managed to squeeze down there. So we're a little fearful of a flamer attack until we managed to spread ourselves out more, but we had some good run rolls, so it's not quite as bad as it could have been.
Okay, end of Grey Knight turn 1. We decided that the large planes on the top board were for the Tau for the moment. Grandmaster Mordrak and his squad of Ghost Knights, which were joined by the Librarian and the Inquisitor, deep struck onto the bottom board. They unleashed their Warp Rift and all their Stormbolters and wiped out 11 Crutes and their Hounds. That's all that arrived this turn, not the most active. Next turn we'll see more reinforcements, hopefully.
End of Tau turn 2. Up on the battlefield, we continue to circle, looking for something to shoot. Down in the cavern, all the Crutes swarmed forward, and 2 crisis teams leapt down as well. Everybody opened fire on the Terminator squad that was down there, destroying a couple of Terminators and wounding the Grandmaster Mordrak. We then foolishly charged one of the Crute squads into combat with the Terminators, which was not a good idea, as they were killed to a man, and the Terminators are now moving forwards towards the right-hand elevator. Also, some of the Terminators have come back to life. The only good news is that the Grandmaster is reduced to 1 wound. The crisis teams have fled back up the lift shafts up onto the battlefield above.
Grey Knight turn 2. Grandmaster Mordrak opened up the turn by casting Psychic Communion, summoning his brothers to aid him defeating the evil Tau. A squad of Terminators, 10 strong, came and combat squadded as it entered the battlefield. A mighty Dread Knight landed on top of a large pillar of rocks, flaming a load of the evil Tau. Grandmaster Mordrak and his warriors moved up to the transport point. In the assault phase, they shuffled up to the top table, diced the Tau command squad, causing the commander to run away, nearly exiting the board, and then they consolidated back down the transport tube. A squad of standard Grey Knight Strike Knights arrived on the back of the battlefield, guarding their objective. The Terminators, with combined fire, also from the Dread Knight, wiped out most of the Tau in the bottom cavern. It was a good turn for the good guys.
Tau turn 3. The commander rallies just before he runs off the table edge, and has now started to make his way back onto the board. The rest of the Tau span round to take fire on the Calidus Assassin, which had appeared last turn. As you can see, it's no longer there. That's what happens when you fire 4 railguns at somebody. The Piranhas dislodged their attack drones, and the drones leapt down these tubes into the caverns, where they attempted to ambush this lone pack of normal Grey Knights in power armour. Took a few pot shots, but didn't do anything, and then fled back up the tubes. The 4 remaining Crute of the 45 original Crute that we had 2 turns ago are fleeing strangely towards the Space Marine board edge, away from this huge pack of Terminators, which they really don't think that they were equipped to handle. The 2 brave Fire Warriors attempting to defend our home objective managed to pop a marker light into the Dread Knight, and then these crisis suits leapt down the tubes, shot it up with some plasma and some missiles, dealing 2 wounds, and then fled back up to the surface, so that the Dread Knight has 2 wounds remaining.
Grey Knight turn 3. The Tau were on the cavern board were wiped out nearly to a man by the Terminators. 2 Fire Warriors were killed by some fire from this squad. Grandmaster Mordrak and his squad gunned down the squad over here. They lost 2 of their men and are now running for their lives, straight towards the Terminators. This is the last remaining member of this squad, who were gunned down by these Terminators over here. The strike squad that were on the lower board used the transport tube to go up and take out the gun drones that were harassing them. Unfortunately, they failed to consolidate back down, so are now cowering behind the transport tube, fearing for their lives. The 3 henchmen came on, opened fire with their bolters, managed to wound one of the Tau gun drones and sent the other running. They are also fearing for their lives on the open plains. The mighty Dread Knight used his teleport pact to move like jump infantry and managed to leap up the tubes and chase down the Tau squad that were jumping up and down shooting them. He managed to only inflict 1 wound, killing a gun drone, but that was all that he needed as they failed their test and were killed.
Now turn 4. The piranhas, which had been circling looking for something to feed on, finally noticed some grey knights and swooped round, unloading a fuselage of fusion blasters, taking down 2. The gun drones sped in, dispatched one of the Imperial Guardsmen, and the other 2 ran off the table before they could be hunted down. The big move of the turn was, could we deal with the Dread Knight, which had wiped out the crisis suits? So most of the Tau army swivelled round and we unloaded a volley of railgun fire which managed to take him down. Meanwhile, in the cavern, the 3 Kroot struggled on bravely, abandoned by their Tau masters to their fate. These 2 Kroot need to desperately try and reach an elevator in order to escape, having failed their morale. They're desperately throwing themselves at the Terminators, firing as they go, and they did manage to take down one of them. This Kroot has opted for a different strategy and is hunkered down behind some rock, hoping that it will provide him with the cover that he needs.
Grey Knight turn 4. The Grey Knights are the mightiest warriors of the Emperor. This turn they turned their fusillade of fire on the 3 remaining Kroot on the bottom board. They managed to kill 2 that were already running away. That's it. Nothing else.
Tau turn 5. The Tau consolidated their hold of the central objective, which is worth 2 victory points on the table. The piranhas continuing to circle should any more Space Marines show their faces. Meanwhile, down in the caverns, the final remaining Kroot struggled bravely to his feet, probably about to hit the deck again, whilst these gun drones, which were launched from the piranha some turns ago, played cat and mouse with the strike squad and not causing any casualties. So the Tau control 2 victory points at the end of their turn 5.
Okay, Grey Knight turn 5. It could be the end of the game. The Tau have consolidated a mighty firepower force surrounding the central objective on the top table, scoring them 2 points. On the cavern table, the Grey Knights are finding it hard going moving through the terrain. They have amassed around this transport tube, ready to launch for the top table next turn if the game goes that long. This squad of Terminators is scoring this objective. After many tries trying to get up on this rubble, these Terminators decided they'd score it from underneath. On the final objective, the strike squad have managed to get there, exchanging pot shots with the gun drones who are still stubbornly clinging to the table. But will the game end? Let us see. The game continues. Let's see what happens turn 6.
Up on the plains, the Tau vehicles array themselves against the yogurt pot elevator where they are expecting a charge, whilst the broadside team cluster underneath the objective.
Grey Knight turn 6. The Tau are still holding the top objective with a gun line of vehicles parked in the way. The Grey Knights are waiting on the cavern board, ready to storm through. Next turn, if it goes that far, they will be making a roll for it. The Grey Knights are still holding this objective, and the strike squad managed to deal with the 2 gun drones and hold this final objective. End of turn 6, the Grey Knights are winning 3 points to 2. Will the game go on?
That's the end of the game.
End of the game. Grey Knights win 3 to 2.